change the tape. So this is tape number 3. So this is becoming a bit of a marathon, not a sprint. So I know. Don't worry, we'll rattle through these next few years because you didn't do very well. Right. So. But we were just joking actually about 79 Coleman finale. Amelia was a bit nondescript in terms of results for the Worlds.
No, I didn't really perform at either of them. I mean, there was some tragic incidents at finale with Stephen Carwell Cook,
Yeah.
who had a really bad accident, and that really meant the compulsory introduction of safety helmets.
Did that crash affect you in any way? Do you think in finale? Because I know.
No, it was all part of the game, wasn't it? You know, it was all part of the game. Not really. I mean, Stephen I liked, and he was quite badly injured.
Goffey fell heavily as well.
Yeah, we all did. We all fell in that the big crash.
Yeah.
But Stephen Carwell Cook was a separate crash. He fell.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Stephen Carwell Cook's crash wasn't when the whole pack went down.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, it was just he went down in the middle of the straight, and they just right by the gate where you come on and off to the track,
Yeah.
and they just dragged him off, and there was like a streak of blood all the way across. You know, they just dragged him, and I remember coming off and blood up our legs, and the wheels covered in blood and all the rest. So he was quite badly hurt. But going back to Como,
Yeah.
that's really when Tom Peterson came on the scene.
Yeah.
And his sister.
Yeah.
And they both won. They both won Worlds.
No, his
There's his sister. I'm sure his sister.
His sister was she medalled in Como, and Tom didn't win till 80, but he was certainly on the scene in 79. Yeah.
But I thought his sister won because we called her Stomper because she just stomped off the line in the time trial. She was
Lynn Peterson. Yeah, she certainly she was certainly up there. I don't think she did win.
Didn't she?
No, but she was certainly up. You're right. They were both. Yeah.
Came on the scene.
But
and that was the first time that we'd really seen them since '69 in Argentina.
The Americans, yeah, they'd not been around much.
No, there was because Boogie was in '69 in Argentina.
Yeah, Boogie Ormond. Yeah.
Yeah, he was probably the first American skater I'd seen, and then we didn't see anybody till Peterson in 10 years later.
No, because there was a group of Americans come over to race Tatum in '74. Yeah, there was a small group of them there, but 1979. So it is a bit off piste a little bit, but so Goffey won his 13th British title in '79, which now meant he got more individual British championships than anyone else because Les held the record on 12, and then Goffey equalled it, and then bettered it in '79. So and then he won a few more over the years, and ended up with 17 in 1983. So for those 4 years, he had got more British titles than anybody else. How it all felt, and you and him were trading blows in terms of British championships, but he'd always been ahead. I remember a lot of chatter around that time, and not many people go, well, how many have they? And the records weren't really known, and couldn't work out who'd won what, and it was a big question at that time. Was it a big thing to you?
No. No, never even crossed my mind. Never even crossed my mind.
There was always, I couldn't remember, I remember Joe Lawrence. I don't know why I got Joe Lawrence in my mind, thinking trying to count up the championships, who's got the most now, and all this over, but it just, trying to, records are really sporadic in sort of the early to mid 70s and late 70s, I suppose. They weren't kept as avidly as they are now, which is probably one of the reasons why I do it, But yeah, but it didn't mean anything to you, or the amount that he got.
I don't even know today how many I've won.
18. So you won 18, but over the years, like you've had to overcome some serious competition. I'm talking domestically now, like Mick, Bobby Smith, the McGraths, Cobley, Arlo brothers. Who do you consider to be your biggest rival?
I never had a serious individual rival. Everybody who strapped a pair of skates on and entered that race was a rival. You know what I mean? I didn't have rivalry. I didn't have I know me and Goffey went head to head in a lot of races, but it weren't a rivalry. It weren't like I went into a particular race to beat Goffey. It was like I went into every race to win it, and whoever the opposition was.
Do you think the sport has suffered in later years? And this is a question that's just come to me actually. It's not written down anything, but like when you consider your era of skating, like you said, the rivalry. It wasn't a rivalry. Everybody was a rival, and I sort of get that. And you won or Mick won or Mulaney or Feetham or whoever. When I was skating, it was if you beat Tony Marriott, you won. If you beat Sooty Atkins, you won.
Mm-hmm.
There was one person who stood out head and shoulders above all others. I think and so do you think that the sport suffered later on because of that dominance of one person, or do you think that dominance of one person was because the sport itself was not as strong?
I don't know. I think it's about individuals' perception. It's about individuals' perception to rivalry, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the
I can understand that you like one person.
The rivalry is more or less created, not by the protagonists, but by the people around them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I didn't go into a race thinking I'm going into this race to beat Goffey. I'm going into this race to win it. Whoever it is, because not all the time it was Goffey, not all the time it was, any other individual. It was just, and I think that's why I was never very ecstatic about winning something. It didn't show. There was never any built-up emotion in me to win it, and then throw your hands in the air and number one and all this game, or punch the air or any of that. I don't know. I don't think that's in my makeup.
Yeah. Okay. So when the Europeans were at Southampton, it felt like, especially after 78 and 79, then you got 98 the following year, it felt like a real come down or a real knock, the fact that the British team were, in relative terms, so poor.
Yeah, but it was on a track we didn't perform on. It's like you say that's. I think, me personally, if you're talking about time trials and stuff like that, there was a zone in which I was competitive, a time zone in which I was competitive. If the track, it didn't matter about whether the track was too rough and too hard, that I could still perform on that. But if the track was super fast, I weren't super fast.
Right. I
don't consider myself to have been a super fast skater. I was good at 500 metre time trials because I'd got good speed endurance. But I never did very well at 300s because it wasn't a speed endurance event. It was just about a speed event. So the tracks and the circuits that I was good on fitted into the if you like, my physiology, which physiology was only built to be within a certain zone of speed. Other people had got really good speed, but they could go 41, 42 seconds 500s, which I never ever did. I never got down to them times. But if it was mid 40s towards 50s, especially on a road circuit, I was at the races. So it was, but that didn't come to me till later. That analogy didn't come to me till much later, and then I knew where I would be competitive and where I weren't competitive. And like you talk about Como, you talk about I went competitive in Como, There was a few years in the 70s when I weren't competitive. Whether that was the circuits or whether it was me, I can't remember the times for them circuits, whether they were super fast or not. I can remember Grenoble being super fast, and I can remember, well, Grenoble basically was super fast. And then, of course, when the racing changed to points and limbs,
That weren't your bag.
That weren't me. That weren't me.
But Southampton, for the whole British team, just seemed like a bit of an anticlimax in terms of. Do you think the pressure was on, or was it the circuit, or?
Well, mainly we were skating plastics.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of the others were skating urethanes. Now we didn't skate urethane. We skated Mach 1s.
On Southampton, because you skated urethane in Zandvoort the year before. But
yeah, but we went back to
plastics
for what's it, for Southampton. Probably a mistake. Because Southampton was so smooth, and the plastics gave you such a smooth ride and a feeling of speed.
Mm.
But they'd got a limit. They'd got a speed limit to them, and others using urethanes. I remember Dimitri Van Kamburg. He was flying around there on urethanes. Maybe we should have stuck with that.
Missed opportunity, I think.
I don't know. It's all part of a learning curve, isn't it? It's all part of a learning curve.
So, and it's interesting as well, you said right at the start of this sort of like interview about the NSA missed a trick, because you've still got McGraths and John Downing and Ian Cox even maybe, all these people who came and went over a short period of time really. So like New Zealand 1980, and Goffey takes his first world medal in New Zealand in the 20k, gets a bronze
on the track.
On the track in Masterton.
Oh, right,
yeah. But Feetham retires in 1980 after New Zealand. Mullaney drops his shorts, gets banned, and then retires in 1981. Goffey gets selected in 82, and then he's dropped for promoting 83. So now there's you, and you got the likes of John Quinney, Dan Cobley, Rowan Arlo. Was you aware of that you're now like, whereas like years ago you was the guy with Bobby and Sharman, and you know what I mean? You're now the senior guy, and you got these youngsters in 83 that are doing the business, if you like. Still, I mean, you're still performing, you're still winning, but did anything ever? Was it just something that passed you by, or was it a conscious thing?
No, I can't say as I felt like the elder statesman. I can't think. I mean, they were all good kids.
Yeah.
Cobley.
Yeah.
The two Arlos. Good kids. Who was the other one?
There was Quinney, Ashby.
Quinney, Ashby.
Yeah.
All good kids. And don't forget they'd all come up from Herne Bay.
Yeah.
They were all strong, fast kids. And as a group, they'd come up together. They'd been, competitive within the club structure, and they'd. But yeah, they were good skaters.
But you never felt.
No, I felt that they needed putting into some sort of. If I felt anything, is that I felt like that I weren't so much capable of winning as assisting. If you know what I mean.
The international
I felt like I could bring a bit of a team ethic to them.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, working for, because I had a 4 in
Vienna.
In Vienna,
mm-hmm.
on the 400 metre circuit, and fell on a galvanised drain, cut my backside, and got blood poisoning and all the rest of it, and I was out of it for much of the track. Came back for the road, even though I weren't in any great shakes, but was able to get Cobley and Big Arlo, set them up, give them an opportunity to, lead them out and give them an opportunity to have a go. I think they medalled, didn't they?
They did, yeah, both road and track.
Yeah, I think they medalled on that road. It was a difficult road.
Yeah, it was
a difficult road.
In Vienna.
There's a bad right-hander in it.
Yeah.
But like I said, there was more of that than me being in Vienna anyway. I was injured on the track, come back for the road in no great shapes. still suffering with the blood poisoning, but said, look, I'll do what I can for you. I'll lead you out, and like I said, they medalled. They were both really strong.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
So strong that they carried me through the relay.
Mm. Yeah. Well, so you won the relay.
Yeah.
Gold medal. So you're European champion again. Now that a relay is recognised as European Championship with Arlo and Cobley. And how did you feel about that?
I was chuffed to bits. Because it was their first gold medals.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Bit of a swan song for me, but it was. I mean, the vision of Harlow going down that finishing straight, stayed with me forever, because he just blitzed that last straight.
I always remember you saying that if anybody was in with a sniff of a win at the end,
he was good.
He was good.
He was good.
Yeah, he was strong. So that's your 4th European gold medal. So, and around that sort of time as well, we got Birmingham Wheels track being built.
Right.
So, how did we get the track built? How did it come about?
Assistant Chief Probation Officer for the city, Bernard Mauser, was parking his car on a car park at 5 Ways and sees us skating round there. What are you doing skating up here? Who are you, And he said, I've got a project going called the Wheels Park in Saltley, on the old tip, which is a tip we used to play on when we was kids. We used to go over there. Kids at school used to be right by the tip there. And he says, you can't be doing this. He says, why don't you? He said, is there no proper tracks? No. And then the conversation started. He says, well, would you like to join the steering group and put a proposal forward for a track? So I did. I joined the steering group. I can't remember. I got the drawings we had was the identical drawings of Mar del Plata in Argentina, and I can't remember where we got those drawings.
I think from memory, I think we wrote somewhere and we got them sent over as microfilms, and I had to get them copied at work.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, I got the plans copied up.
So we got the drawings for the track, and for 3 years, almost 3 years anyway, I used to go to these steering group meetings, and they'd be talking about, go-karts, they'd be talking about off-road bikes, they'd be talking about stock cars and banger cars and speedway, and we'd all have to do a little bit about our thing. And I says, we're still waiting for phase 2 of the project, for our speed skating track to be built. And then we got the European Youth Championships, and there was going to be at Herne Bay. And they was going to build a new track for the European Championship, Youth Championships. That fell through, so they'd got nowhere to stage the championships in, even though it'd been allocated to us, Britain. So I go to this meeting, the next steering group meeting, and I says, I've got a proposal. I said, I believe that the UK, Britain has been given the junior European Championships, and I said, I think if we can get this track built, I'm fairly sure that I could get the championships here if we get it. And they said, when's the championships? I think it was in the July of '84, was it?
Oh yeah, it was.
July of '84. This must have been probably early or mid '83 at this meeting. And Bernard was all enthusiastic about it. And it went round the table, could we move the speed skating track into phase 1? This is the time scale, could we get it built? Engineers, civil engineers says, yeah, we could build it in that time space. Finance was there. Could we get the finance for that? Can we get the money to get this event? Get the track built? Yeah. And I said, well, there is another overriding thing. I says we have to pay for the accommodation and the travel of the commissioners and the judges, and I think at that time we was paying towards the athletes' accommodation as well. And they said, well, how much is that likely to be? I just picked a number. I said, probably about £10,000 or so. Can we afford that? Yeah. and it just went round the table that night, and it was just done in a matter of minutes. Funding was there. Civil engineer says they could build it. We could get the money for the what's it. So I went back to the NSA and says, this is it. Bob Alford was one of them, who came up to meet Bernard and discuss the financial implications, not of building the track, but of the running of the events. And that's how it all happened. That's all that happened. Just right place, right time, right circumstances, and it got built.
How much? So, consider. I mean, I'd already said like Feetham retired, Mullane retired, McGough was deselected, and you're still going. How much of an influence or how much of a factor was having Birmingham Wheels to train on a factor for your longevity, or was it not really?
I don't know. The enthusiasm of having a new track, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Club growing, you know, people coming in, you know, your Baldricks, your Andy Lindens, your Chris Ampadu's, you know, Shemson, you know, that group coming in, Chris Stafford, you know, coming on stream, Mark Simner, you know, there was a nice group coming together, yourself, you know what I mean? There was a nice training, Paul Turner, you know, there was a nice training group, Ronnie Bennett, little Dave, there was a nice training group coming together. So, in coaching that group and getting involved in that group, that kept me going. I think that extended, you know, my competitive era, if you like, for want of a better term. So it was the enthusiasm of all that, and of course the enthusiasm of all you younger kids, you know, like I said, you and all the other kids, you know, Ashby coming up here, and you know, so it was that's you know,
kept you going.
Kept me going, I think, yeah.
How did you come to find yourself on the roller speed committee?
On the roller speed committee or on the NSA?
Well, both, because you was on the NSA first.
Yep.
As you was on the council then.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
I can't remember how. I can remember how the roller speed committee came about.
Yeah.
I can't remember how I got on the council. Because I ended up on the NSA council as being part of the finance committee.
Yeah, I can remember
on
that.
the NSA council. The roller speed committee was basically, well, first of all, it was Darren Cobley's dad who once said, how do these roller speed committee members get elected? Oh, don't know. I had no idea at all how it all happened. So we found out, you know, how it was done. You know, that the election forms went out, and the membership voted, and so that's what we did. We put our names forward for the committee. The forms went out. There was a ballot, and we got on.
But what was the driving factor to get on the committee?
Change, I think. Change. You know, it was a self-perpetuating committee. You know what I mean? It was. You know, they were self-elected basically because you know it was 15 names, I think.
Yeah.
Only 15 went forward, so it was a fait accompli really that they all got on. So, and it was to try and influence change.
Was there one thing that had upset you, or
no? I don't think so.
It was just
you know, like I says to you, I think that the roller speed committee had because it was self-perpetuating. It was the same people all the time with the same ideas, and as I said to you very early on, I think they missed a trick by allowing us four, McGough, Mullane, Feetham and myself, to be the national team without any challenge for too many years, and it didn't provide that conveyor belt of talent that was there to come through. Didn't give them the opportunities to come through. So there was some of that, I think.
Okay.
But I can't think of any specific
reason why.
Reason why.
around that sort of time as well, I'd started skating. I've been doing it for a couple of years, and you can answer honestly. Was I a distraction to your skating? Because it's an interesting saying. You know what I mean? Is it like, because at the time I never really think about it, but like having sort of flesh and blood skating, especially as we were in like relay teams together at times and stuff, and on the same track together. Did it mean anything to you? Or I mean, if it didn't, it's fine. But was you conscious of that at all, or was there ever a distraction, or was it just a case of just get on with it?
It was a case of, don't forget, you was with that group of Lindens, Baldricks, Amperdoos, Staffies. You was all together, and I don't think I treated you any different to them. I don't think I did, But when you got selected for the national team for Goose and Mistress,
88,
which I remember vividly that, I told you time and time again, if you're going to get round that parabolic track, you've got to skate high. You've got to be high, and we skated round Wheels high, and I was saying, John, you've got to get higher. If you're on a parabolic track, you've got to be kicking the boards at the top of the track, right? You've got to be higher. And you was going, I am high. And I remember getting hold of you and pushing you, and I went, that's effing high, right? And you went off the track. I remember you coming out and saying to Mum, he's trying to kill me, Mum, he's just pushed me off the track. But it paid dividends. It paid dividends because when you went, you and the rest of the team, and I kept pumping that into you've got to skate high, parabolic, you've got to skate high, especially on quads when it was slippy, you've got to be up the top.
But having your son in a race with you, did it make a difference?
No. I mean, I was chuffed to bits when you won the relay in Goose, and I probably jumped around and whooped and everything far more than I'd ever done when I'd had successes, but
well,
and then the other thing about your kids racing, I was never nervous when I was racing. I was never afraid. I was falls, crashes. I was never afraid. I was never afraid to go into situations where you could get hurt, making a pass or whatever. Never ever did that enter my head. When you used to race, I used to be frightened to death. I used to be so nervous. My stomach would be knotted, because I could see incidents where there was going to be a crash or a fall, or somebody would get hurt, and that was the only time I was really nervous and scared. But never when I was racing with you. Never when I was racing with you.
So just really to wrap up your skating career then, so like 86 was Australia, and like
crap there.
Yeah, and then Grenoble was the Worlds in 87.
Yeah.
And that was your last one. Yeah. And you'd made a conscious decision before that to call it a day. Was it hard to make that decision?
No. I think when the time's right. The one strange thing about Grenoble, my last Worlds, is that I did a PB in the 300 and the 500. I'd gone faster than I'd ever gone in my life. Problem was the rest of the world were giving 2 seconds quicker.
Finishing the mid-20s or whatever. But that's interesting. So, and do you think, and it's not a leading question by any stretch, but do you think you stopped on too long, or do you think the time was just right?
It depends on whether you think whether you stayed on too long, that you was milking it. I wasn't deliberately milking it right up until the day that
you weren't just in the team just to be in the team.
No, it was the same. I'd got the same attitude when I first strapped a pair of skates on to the last time I strapped a pair of skates on competitively. Is I just wanted to win. That was it. Just wanted to win, and that was my whole desire, ambition, driving force was just to win. just to win.
But was there ever a point in the World Championships where you thought, I'm just never going to win? Or did you always go into every event?
Every event.
You felt you were going to win. You got a chance.
No, I didn't feel as though I was going to win.
Or you got a chance of winning.
I was going in there to win.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. I just wanted to win. That was it. And come the last Worlds, I'd made the decision I was packing up after that Worlds. Not because I didn't think I was still competitive at that Worlds, but because I thought I could see the gap getting bigger.
Yeah.
I could see the gap getting bigger.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, I'm not going to close that gap now. And like I said, even though I did PBs for two of the distances, and like I said, I think the writing's on the wall. You know, that was it.
The sport had also changed. I suppose people becoming more professional. I suppose in the late 80s, but the sport had moved on a bit since.
Yeah, I mean the Americans and the Australians
Yeah.
came into it far more. You know, the Americans were very dominant in that period. So were the Australians. You know, you got your Whiteys and your Spooners and that coming through. You know, Cheryl Begg.
Yeah.
You know, there was all coming through at that stage. You know, the tide was turning. It was, you know, it was not just moving away from us. It was moving away from Europe. You know, Europe, Italy, France weren't becoming the dominant factors. You know, America, Australia were becoming the dominant nations.
So you since giving up competitively then? Oh, but did it? So it didn't affect you. Giving up, you thought that's it. I'm done. It's fine. Because you raced a couple of races domestically afterwards.
I can't remember.
But so as time's moved on, you got more and more involved in the administrative side of the sport, and moreover, like coaching the club and then the country. What spurred you to do that? To continue coaching and you know, club and country?
Well, I just think, I mean, I love the sport. I love the racing. You know, I had a great career, you know, spanning what? I don't know, 60,
A long time.
69 to 18 years, I think it was. Yeah, getting on for 20 years. And to have done that, to give other people the opportunities to do that, and if you can't do it yourself, you'd like to think you can put your tactical brain and coaching brain into other people's heads with their legs. You can put your brain on their shoulders, but you're using you're using their legs basically to. So in some senses, I'm still skating.
Yeah.
But through them, you know, through the people you coach.
But you also got involved in the administration. You became chairman of the federation, and you know. So what was it that drove you to do that as well?
To improve, to just. That's what must have happened when when we went forward for the NSA. Same sort of thing, you know. I mean, it's a difficult challenge taking the sport forward. A very difficult challenge. Our biggest challenge is facilities. The biggest challenge. Unless you've got facilities, you're never going to produce top skaters. If you haven't got facilities, you're never going to increase the numbers. And I always use the analogy of British cycling. Until they got Manchester, the national cycling centre in Manchester, and relocated everything to Manchester. Had Manchester as the head, the HQ, national stadium, employed good coaches, got good equipment, a superb track. That's when cycling really took off. Track cycling took off in the UK once they got Manchester. Without that, you've got the odd wins, with people like Boardman and who's the other guy? Hugh Porter. People like that who would come along at every odd Olympics and win a gold medal or medal. but you didn't have the success that British cycling have had, since Manchester's come on stream. That's exactly what this sport needs to grow. It needs facilities, needs better publicity. It needs finance, and it needs a different perception of speed skating than what exists at the moment. Now, how you get to that, we've tried different things. We've taken, when I was chairman, we took events to Brighton on the seafront. We took events to Blackpool. We took events to Botling holiday camps. We took, events to city centres, Coventry city centre, Derby city centre, to try and generate income. To try and generate interest. And I'm at the stage and the conclusion now that we have to grow the sport indoor, commercial rinks if possible. If not, we need proper, size sports centres, sports halls, to grow the sport. We have to get people skating recreationally before we can get them speed skating. It's like swimming, if you like. People go swimming first before they become competitive swimmers. You have to learn to swim before you can become a competitive swimmer. You have to learn to skate before you can become a competitive skater in any discipline. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to link in to the indoor centres, because with our climate, you take today, this period, we can have the best outdoor track in the world, but you ain't going to be able to skate on it. You ain't going to get kids and parents come and sit for a couple of hours, while the parents sit for a couple of hours while their kids train on a wet, cold January morning. So, we've got to grow it through the indoor facilities, but we also need top class outdoor facilities throughout the spring, summer, and months, where we can produce the skaters who are going to, rise to the top internationally.
What is it that sets, again, another question that's just come to me, is that Belgium always tend to produce really decent skaters, don't they? So talk Belgium, just for now. We can always talk about Italy or France, but Belgium is like a small nation, not many skaters, I'd say, not really.
Probably no more than us.
But what is it about them that sets them apart from us?
Well, other than Bart Swings, you tell me who you've had.
Well, yeah, but I think you had loads. I mean, like Sandrine Tass, George Vandenberg, and
but you're talking same era.
Yeah.
But look at, you go back to Danny van der Peer.
Yeah.
From Danny
van der Peer.
From Danny van der Peer.
Yeah.
To where they are now.
Yeah.
It was very, very sort of Cinderella-ish, a bit like us.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you look at the strength, the strength that came with British skating, it came through the rinks, a lot of commercial rinks, came through the commercial rinks. Commercial rinks in London, which was, there was quite a few of them. The Embassy, in Birmingham, Granby Halls in Leicester. So there was a good network of commercial roller rinks. That's where people went to enjoy skating. That's where the pyramid started for the speed skaters and the top of the tree. But Italy went into the doldrums for many years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Germany is not producing they had a great spell in the 90s. That's gone very quiet. The Swiss were great again. The early 2000s, they've gone very quiet. The countries that have come up, and they've come up with, because of facilities, is your Colombias, is your Chinas, is your Chinese Taipei, is your Indonesias, is just go around the world. You can pick them all out. America's going through a bit of a downtime at the moment. They've got what's the girl who's doing the ice?
Erin Jackson.
They've got a decent junior, a couple of decent juniors coming through, but nowhere near the Muses, the Van Patters, the Bobby Kaisers, the Chad Edricks, you know, the
Derek
Dave
Downing,
Powers,
yeah, Derek Powers,
Derek Downing, you know,
Mm.
you can just reel them off. And for that period, that was a golden period for them. Colombia, you know, you've got your Colombias, your Venezuelas, your Chiles, you know, it's so it's getting spread around. Spain are coming back up.
Mm.
Spain are on the rise again. France are back on the rise. They had a bit of a downtime, you know. So it is swings and roundabouts, but it's all based around facilities and good coaching. That's what it's about.
Okay, well, talk about coaching then. So as time's moved on, you've got, I said, you know, you've coached Birmingham Wheels. Well, you've coached Birmingham Wheels, and it's not all down to you, obviously, but it's the most successful club in the country in 130 years of speed skating.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you know, it's only established in 1984, and since then it's 1983, 84, but it's now the most successful. So, and again in 2023, top club in the country in terms of the number of gold medals won at the British Championships. How does that make you feel?
Oh, really proud, but go back a couple of years, right?
Mm.
Our most productive. Go back to 1984.
Yeah.
What made the club so successful from 84 onwards?
The track.
The facility.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. To get top skaters, you need a top facility.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're training on that facility, and that facility is matching other facilities around the world, other facilities where there's, you know, where they stage world and European championships, you're going to have a degree of success. And that's what it's about.
Okay.
That's what it's about. It's about the facilities. You need the facilities. Otherwise, you've got to travel, you know, to use facilities in other countries. And that's what people have to do now. That's what the British skaters have to do.
How did carrying the Olympic torch come about?
That came about through the work we were doing with Sport Birmingham, which was Birmingham Sports Council originally. We did a number of projects with them, getting kids into sport. Again, where we were based at Birmingham Wheels, we were drawing on the local schools, which has got a large Asian, you know, or a majority of them are Asian kids, these local schools around Birmingham Wheels. And it was the work we was doing with them. Sharon was working with Smallheath Girls' School, predominantly Muslim school, and getting them skating. And we was doing working different projects. Because don't forget, we won Birmingham Sports Awards. We won, you know, out of 2,000 clubs in Birmingham, we won, you know, the top sports club of the year. Not just for wins, but for the work within the community. And it was through that, through a guy called Mike Dickinson, that worked at Sport Birmingham. He put myself forward, and I can't think of his name. I think it was Mr. Patel. I can't think of his first name. Who was a badminton coach, and he put those two names. Oh, and another guy who was involved in ice hockey. There was three of us. He put those names forward to Sport England, and then we were nominated by Sport England to carry the Olympic torch. So it was basically for working in the community, getting kids into sport and everything else.
How did you feel about it?
That was great. That was a great day.
It was a great day. I mean, it was a good day. It was quite a funny day, actually. Yeah. I mean, for anybody who's not seen the video, I advise you go and watch it. It's quite amusing. But like, yeah, that must have been quite an accolade for you. It must have been quite.
It was a real honour, I guess.
Yeah.
But again, I was fortunate that I was the figurehead, if you like, of the club. But the work that was going on behind the scenes by other people, and Sharon in particular, right, was I was getting all the reflective glory, and it almost didn't seem fair that all the other, you know, and like I say, Sharon in particular, and Vinny, who did a lot of work in the schools, you know, there was only one Olympic torch.
Yeah.
You know, they couldn't all carry it.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I said, I got that reflected glory of all their hard work. So
Okay. And nearly done, but so Mum has always been by your side, so and heavily involved in the sport. How much has Mum's influence?
she just put the sausage roll.
She's here, so yeah, we got always handy. But how much has that influence? Mum always been heavily involved in the sport along with you. How much has Mum's influence kept you going?
Well, of course, it's everything. It's a partnership, isn't it? You know, it's like every athlete needs a good coach, but every athlete needs a support system. And your mum's been supporting me all the way through. She's never moaned once about how expensive it is. She's never moaned once about me buying equipment or wheels or, you know, or travelling to events. She's never says, oh, you know, I need a new carpet, but you're going off to America or Australia or wherever to skate. You know, what about a new carpet or what about a new three-piece? Or no, there's never been any pressure to not do it. In actual fact, there's been pressure sometimes to do it to keep the life balance.
So as with most skaters, so when you're racing, like you did, and you wanted to get on to implement change, when you look to the older generation as being out of touch, is there a danger that you could now be the one that's out of touch? So in other words, the younger ones are looking at you and thinking, who's this old fuddy-duddy?
Who's this old fart?
Yeah.
Yeah, and rightly so. And rightly so, you know, we've all got a shelf life, you know, and I've not got the answers to everything, and never claimed to have the answers to, you know, to everything. But what I have got is experience. Age don't make you cleverer, but it should make you wiser. Now I think I'm wiser now, or should be, if the old grey matter stays in shape, than I've ever been. So I don't see, this is something that we've talked about. We're in the process of getting a new track built over at Castle Vale, in place of the old track that we had at Birmingham Wheels. Fingers crossed that all seems to be going fairly well. All the indications are really positive. But we've got to have a succession plan. We've got to have a succession plan of when we're not around or capable of doing what we're doing at the moment. So we need a succession plan for the club, we need a succession plan for the federation, and we need a succession plan for coaches. And ultimately, and this is what I go back to with the old NSA, they didn't have a succession plan to get rid of McGough, Mullane, Feetham and myself. And you've got to have that plan in place. So without that, that's all part of what's driving me. And as I realised when I stopped competing, now's the time to stop. Hopefully I'll have the insight to know when is the time to step away from what I'm doing at the moment.
It's funny, so like over the years, so obviously from the dad I knew and the skater that I knew, you seem to have mellowed over the years. But is that just an age thing, or is that experience?
That's experience, isn't it? Like it says, I've got wiser.
Well, how would you describe yourself?
Well,
how would you describe yourself firstly? As a skater, how would you describe yourself?
In your day, when I was coaching you and your group, right, there was no carrot. It was just a stick. Yeah, and that was the principle I used, right? Like I said, no carrot, just a stick. And I've noticed that Bill Begg is going the same way as I'm going, whereas he was all stick, and because you've been and stopped with them in Australia, and you've seen how Whitey trained, how Spooner trained, and it was all the stick. There was no carrots involved. Now I realise that the stick ain't always the answer. It's the carrot and the talking and letting the kids find their own way and sort out the problems for themselves, rather than telling them this is the problem, this is the answer. It's not like it don't need to be like that. Otherwise, they don't learn the lessons. So now I try to be more of a guiding influence than trying to beat them into shape.
Okay. So, would you describe yourself firstly as a skater and then as a coach?
As a skater.
As a skater, would you call yourself arrogant?
No, but I can see why other people would.
Okay.
Right? I wouldn't call myself arrogant. I would call myself what's the word I'm looking for? Not arrogance, but sometimes confrontational. Sometimes very opinionated. Lots of times very opinionated. Probably too much time very opinionated. But I think there needs to be. You can't have a. I don't think you can be a successful sports person without being opinionated, without a degree of aggression and determination. And that aggression is not necessarily towards other people, it's aggression towards yourself and making yourself do things that you don't particularly want to do or you don't enjoy doing. I mean, I never enjoyed going to the gym and working out in the gym, but I knew it was part of the process to get to where I wanted to be. Never enjoyed that part of it. My skates on, skating, do that all day long, happy as Larry. But the other bits that went towards getting there, I didn't particularly enjoy. But it was a case of you've got to do that if you want to succeed. So that determination, that, like I said, that aggression to yourself, to get yourself up and motivated, I think you need. But like I said, you opinionated, arrogance, confidence. I don't know where you draw the line, how you departmentalise all of those different things.
But you think that other people might see you in those,
other people, definitely.
Yeah,
other people, for sure. Because other people don't necessarily understand what you need to be successful, and they perceive that as maybe arrogance or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know.
So, who has influenced you most over the years?
Your mum.
Yeah. Without saying.
No, your mum's been a good leveller. You know, she always plays devil's advocate with me. You know, very rare do we argue, but she will. I'll say something. You know, I think we should do this, and she'll say, "Well, have you thought about that? What about if that happens? Or what about if somebody says that? Or what about if that changes?" And that then makes you think a bit deeper. So that has an influence on what you do next. So discussing it, and we discuss lots of things. We walk around the block, and we never stop discussing stuff, and even if it's just the state of the roads or whatever, or, you know. So, but there has been a lot of skating influences. Ray Roberts, for one, has been a big influence. Leon Goodchild, I'm going right the way back.
Yeah.
You know, Leon Goodchild, Ray Roberts, and then there's been other people in other sports. You know, Wilf O'Reilly. You know, who I used to train with. You know, Dave Gorder, who was a boxing coach who I trained with.
Bob Maitland.
Bob Maitland was another
Yeah,
good influence, and Bernard Mauser was another good influence. You know,
okay.
So all these people, it's going through life and through your sport without blinkers on and only listening to a few people. You've got to you've got to spread it, you know, as diverse as possible, and none of these, you know, Dave Gorder was a brilliant boxing coach, and you know I learnt a lot from him. Who else did I say?
Yeah, well,
Bob Maitland.
Yeah, he was cycling.
Yeah, lovely guy.
So, I've got 2 more questions, just 2. What legacy do you think you've left on the sport, domestically or even internationally?
You need to ask other people that. You can't ask me that. You know,
Okay.
that's not for me to adjudicate on. It's again, it's something that's further down the track because I don't think I'm finished yet. So, you know, how do you
It's
know?
not, yeah. Your legacy's not complete.
No.
Okay.
And like I said, that's for other people. The one thing I do want to do, and because I keep emphasising the progress is about facilities, I'm desperate to make sure that we get this new track, and that could be seen as a legacy for the future.
Okay. Well, I got just one last question then. So, I'm a skater who couldn't get higher than 6th in a time trial, and yet you were like twice European champion in time trials. Do you reckon you could still beat me? You don't have to answer that.
No,
if you don't want
but
to.
let me tell you, son.
Yeah. No.
If I was skating today, right, with the athleticism and the professionalism and the skills of the skaters that are around today, I wouldn't have been in the top 50. Because skaters today are incredibly talented, fit, conditioned. They understand the equipment, they understand racing, and like I says, I wouldn't have got in the top 50 at Worlds in today's competition, and that's how the thing has moved on. But the thing has moved on, not necessarily for the good of the whole sport. It's moved on for the benefit of the elite in the sport. Today, you have to be a professional skater who can train 30, 35 hours a week. You know, at all the different elements, the skating, the off skating, the gym, you know, have accessibility to equipment, have accessibility to the best facilities, track-wise, best coaching. So there's only a small nucleus of skaters at the very top who get that. And until we can get people to that level, we may pick up the odd medal or the odd World Championships or European Championship along the way, but we're never going to have the power block that your Colombias have got, because when I was skating, Colombia were nothing. You know, they were nothing, they were just also runs. And you look at them today, top of the tree. But that's investment. They've invested in the sport.
Well, thank you for investing in your time to sit down with me for that little marathon session. Now we've got a couple of sausage rolls in the oven that Mum's desperate to give us. But, well, Dad, thanks a lot for that. I'm sure there's a lot of people who will be very interested to hear some more all of it.
Nobody will ever watch all of that.
I think that's the truest thing you've said today.
It's like Napoleon.
All right, thanks, Dad. All right.